So hey guys, how are you all? I hope you all are fine. So as you seen in the thumbnail today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got Arceus during Chunin exam? Movie 1. So watch this video till the end, also like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now let's move on to the video. Come on, hits gotta be faster than that. A young boy of the age of 8 said, dodging under a white flamed cartwheel. This young boy was the third youngest of Minato Namikaze, the Sinnoh region's Thunder Gym, and Kushina Uzumaki, the top coordinator of Hoenn. His name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. He was a mix of both of his parents. Like his father, his hair was spiky and he sported a sun-kissed tan, and like his mother he had the long hair and royal purple eyes, but unknown to his parents and siblings he was chosen by Arceus to be her successor and king. At a young age he had heart problems preventing him from becoming a trainer like his sisters Elsa and Skyla. Blocking a punch from a black-furred Chimchar with a scar running over her right eye, as both were a deep crimson with a white flame at her rear, he swung his leg out, sending her into the lake, making him laugh as the odd-colored Firestarter sputtered, "Damn it baby, I almost had you." "Ha, that's a laugh, hits. The day you win against Naru-kun is the day I turn into a Ninetales," a gray and black-furred Riolu said with a pair of armbands around her paws. This is Kagutsuchi, a Riolu he found along with her best friend and rival Hits when he was 4. You see, unlike psychics who understand thoughts, he understood the Pokemon's actual dialect and could communicate with them. His parents never took the time to teach him the basics of Pokemon. Instead, that was left to learning from his godfather Professor Rowan and godmother Professor Juniper, both of whom taught him everything that involved Pokemon, from the history to the scientific field and everything in between, and from a young age he took everything they had to say to heart. They realized he was a young genius and decided to test him by gathering their fellow colleagues and had them watch over him as he took a test written by each of them to see if he was knowledgeable. It was safe to say he was, as he got over 100% on each of their tests. As such, they allowed him to gain the title of professor in training till Rowan and Juniper were satisfied with his results to grant him full claim, which he did 2.5 years later after finding several odd stones that had the DNA of several Pokemon, 2 of which were Kagutsuchi and his third Pokemon. "Do you two mind? I was in the middle of reading?" a black-toned Ralts asked. This was Chris, short for Chrysanthemum. She was another odd-colored Pokemon he had saved from a wild Puccina, though her skirt was already tattered. "Aw, that's all you ever do is read, Chris. Sure, you're the strongest in the special attack and defense range, but you gotta work on your speed or all that skill won't do you any good," Hits said, shaking the water off of her fur. "No, she also likes to imagine all the kinky," Kagutsuchi would have continued unless Chris clamped her hand over her mouth, turning red. Naruto sat on the sidelines, showing his tanned skin with long spiky red hair with silvery white streaks going through it. His eyes were a peculiar color, as the sclera, though small, was a light purple in color, while his eyes, a mix between royal purple and sapphire blue, had a light hazel haze going through them. He was wearing his usual training clothing consisting of sweatpants and a muscle shirt showing off his six-pack, while his hair was pulled back into a ponytail. The young man had become their mate, although they haven't done the act yet, as they agreed upon him becoming an official trainer, as he wanted to get the fine-tuning done on some devices of his. He had trained all Pokemon he's come across to push them beyond their normal limitations and excel to that where a single hit of a super effective move would knock them out easily, thanks to Arceus, who taught him how to create pocket dimensions that will let them train for so long inside with so little time changing outside in his dreams. Falling back, he landed on the soft grass in the clearing as Hits took comfort on his stomach, while Kagutsuchi and Chris took a shoulder as they listened to various Pokemon that resided in the forest. Today was to celebrate his two sisters winning in the respective regions they went to. Skyla went to Hoenn while Elsa decided to stay in Sinnoh to see where their father was born. He chose not to attend for the fact that it would only be his parents, the other gym leaders and members of the Hoenn and Sinnoh League, talking to one another, sharing battle tips or bragging about how little trainers got their badges. Even though today was also the celebration of his birthday as well, like always the simplest of things were overshadowed by his sisters. He loved his sisters dearly. They were the only blood relatives he enjoyed being around, though their love for him went past that of a brotherly sisterly bond. For them he wasn't their little brother but the person they loved more than anything, though it wasn't like it would be considered incest, as the DNA in him was more Pokemon whipping out the threads that could trace them as family. It seems as though his sisters, the professors and his godparents were the only ones to acknowledge his birth. From Skyla he got the newest in communication technology, the X-transceiver in black with her and his Elisa's numbers programmed into it, and from Elisa herself he got a necklace with a cubic-style lightning bolt with a yellow, cobalt and sapphire embedded on stainless steel acting as the lightning bolt itself. From Juniper she got him a guitar to play music while Rowan got him a violin, knowing he had a love for all instruments in general. The other professors gave him books on the other fields concerning Pokémon. He reached for the guitar and began to play. Oh namikaze home oh sai Professor Rowan and Juniper told us about their godson, but I don't see the little guy. Where could he be? I thought he would have wanted to get to know so many gym leaders, possibly get some tips. A tall woman with blonde hair. This was the champion of the Sinnoh region, Cynthia. She was told by the professor who gave her the Pokédex long ago when she first started about his godson. When his colleague Professor Juniper also mentioned him, they were talking about him being lonely and a lover of Pokémon and tended after Pokémon who were abused and forsaken. She was hoping she could give him tips to get him motivated to strive for excellence and to see the world. Cynthia, you see the kid? Her other colleague Flint asked. Flint was the leader of the fire gym of Sinnoh and was also excited to meet the kid, hearing about someone so young tending and caring for the injured and giving them a place to belong when they have nowhere to call home. She shook her head, making him scratch his head as he saw his childhood friend with his wife talking to their friends. Hey Minato, you see Naruto? Professor Rowan wanted us to see him. The old man had a lot of positive things to say about the kid. I wanted to see the kid for myself, he said, getting a nonchalant shrug. Haven't seen him, he said, turning his attention back to the others, shocking his friends at how little care he has for one of his children. Making him shake his head, he said as he reached Cynthia, who was talking to Aaron, the bug trainer and a member of the Sinnoh League's Elite Four. He is a new member who joined at the age of 19. Hey guys, check out what I found in the kids' room, he said, showing a series of folders labeled Studies of Evolution and Types, while another was labeled New Pokémon Types in different regions. As they looked underneath the titles of both folders, something shocked them by Professor Naruto. Reading a few pages, they were surprised as Aaron said, I know, I had the same look, and the kid had more folders scattered all around his room. Though when I went upstairs I thought I heard something come from outside. Nodding, the three of them went out the back as they walked through the forest, hearing a guitar as words drifted through the air. With Naruto watching as his friends danced in time with his music, he couldn't help but smile as they danced listlessly to the drifting tune. From age 4 to age 8 he's met so many Pokemon that loved to be near him, as he gave off a nurturing and calming aura from the most ferocious to the most tame. All enjoyed being within his reach. Stopping abruptly, he said, you can come out. I know you're there. The three behind the tree a few feet to his left stepped out to show the gym leader and the two members of the Elite Four. Interesting for two members of the Elite Four and Sinnoh's own fire gym leader Flint to grace me with their presence. What do you want? The look on his face was that of profession as his three companions stood with him, glaring at them as if daring them to make a move against him. Calm down, kid. Professor Rowan and Juniper told us about you and we really wanted to see what you were like. Though I expected to see you in the house, Flint said, getting a grunt as he sat back against the tree as they sat with him on his shoulders and head. He nodded with a grunt. I don't like listening to people brag about how little the amount of badges they gave away, or how people don't give their Pokemon the respect they deserve as they did all the work while their trainer sits pretty on the sidelines. They flinched at the chill in his voice as Cynthia said, not all trainers are like that, you know. In fact, your godparents wanted us to meet you. We were hoping we could ask you a few questions. He shrugged as he rubbed Chris's head gently, getting a happy cry. You can ask, though depending on what it is I may not answer. They nodded as Flint was the first to ask, why aren't you celebrating with your parents as they celebrate your sister's success? The boys shrugged. As I said earlier, I don't like listening to people brag about how few people got their badge, and I already told my sisters congratulations as they have told me happy birthday. Aaron was next. Today's your birthday? How come nobody was told? He shrugged. Whenever Minato and Kushina do something, it's only involved my sisters as I've been pushed in the shadows since I was 3. Frowning, Cynthia asked, why don't you address them as your parents? Why give a title to somebody that they haven't earned? They barely raised me till I was 3 and left the job to my godparents to do it ever since. I tried to be involved in my family's events, but I was always pushed aside. Elisa's fashion shows, Skyla's performances, parties thrown by them, and I would get the same response, you'd distract them. Naruto, go to your room. Naruto, same thing every time. And whenever my birthday came they would brush it aside. The last gift I ever got from them was a map of the Hoenn region and 2 stuffed toys of Kyogre and Groudon, he said, making them frown, especially with how little emotion he showed. Flint thought, Minato, Kushina, you two really fucked up. Recovering, he asked, alright Naruto, how about this? He continued, although Kushina and I are on friendly terms, I just don't see her as a mother, as she hasn't done anything to categorize herself as a mother. At least she would give me money or greet me. Even a gift every now and again, but a motherly role. No, nothing of the sort. Satisfied with that, Flint pulled out the 2 folders and asked, what are these about? And why are you called Professor? He shrugged. Well, for the second I am called Professor because I became one when I became a professor in training, when I officially became one a month ago when presented my thesis on possible evolutions and the change in regions. Pointing to them, he said, what you're holding is my updated research. Over the years since man, Pokemon would evolve from different situations, change in weather, different time zones, he bond a Pokemon has for their trainer. An example would be a Phoebus turning into a Melodic. In Hoenn it evolves when its beauty would be maxed out and traded to another trainer, when in Sinnoh the truth is it wasn't the beauty that was important but the scale they would gather deep underwater. Nodding, he continued, now what if a select few Pokemon had an additional transformation, a side evolution if you will. Once they absorb the stone into their DNA they have access to the transformation back when it was common and then change back after combat. This is a process I call Mega Evolution. Astonished, Flint asked what Pokemon are capable of this. Naruto shrugged, saying it's still a fresh process I've come across. One thing that needs to be possible is that you're Pokemon and you must have a deep bond of faith and trust to unlock the block that keeps them from gaining the instinct from using it. Also, judging from the quality of the stones when I found them, they're pretty hard to find or people passes them off as simple rocks. Checking his X-transceiver and saw the time, he said, hey, do you think we can have this conversation after we stop by the Pokemon Center? I gotta get some supplies to make Pokemon food. They nodded as they made their way back to Naruto's home. He went up to his room, showered and came back down wearing a pair of black jeans with gray sneakers along with a white shirt under an open long-sleeved black jacket with twin red lines coming from the arms with a tribal design of Giratina in its origin form on the back with the lightning bolt necklace over his shirt. As they walked out the front door he saw his 2 older sisters smiling at him, which he returned, making the 3 accompanying him smile, knowing he isn't cold to the entire world. Naruto, where are you heading off to? Elisa asked with a raised eyebrow, making him chuckle. I got some things to pick up from the Pokemon Center. I'll be back shortly, he said, getting a worried glance from his other sister Skyla. Are you sure? The last time you said that you went out of your way to help a swarm of Kakana that fell from a tree when you were attacked by a pack of Ariatis, you were poisoned for 3 days, she said, making him chuckle. I promise I'll be fine. Besides, you know me, I help those who need it, he said, walking away after hugging them both, getting a slight blush from the 2 which went unnoticed by the 3 following him and him included. He thought to Chris and the others who were inside their Pokeballs, did you smell that? Chris responded, yes, it smelt like a Pokemon, but they had them held in their Pokeballs and it seemed strong, stronger than an ordinary Pokemon. This is peculiar. Kagutsuchi also nodded, I agree, whatever those 2 are, they're powerful, but why hide as humans? And why do we just now sense it? Hit stated, I don't know, but am I the only one who noted the scent was similar to Naruto's? Same for that Cynthia chick. He shrugged it off, filing it for later as he and his group made a quick walk towards the Pokemon Center. When just going through the previous town he saw something that made his blood boil. The both of you are useless. A trainer said, kicking a little Trapinch that was silver in color and a little Charmander that was completely black with a black flame on its tail, and both were in bad shape. The Charmander was conscious as she held onto the Trapinch, who had already fainted. Tackling the trainer, Naruto yelled, what the hell is wrong with you? Pulling the kid up by his shirt he said, what the hell has possessed you to harm Pokemon, you bastard? As he pulled himself free he said, what's it to you? These 2 have been nothing but a problem for me since I caught them. Not once have they won a single battle. Growling, Naruto said, and that gives you the right to harm these Pokemon? Fine, let's make a wager. You have 3 Pokemon on you. How about a 3-on-3? You leave those 2 out of the fight. I win, you leave your Pokemon with me and I turn you into Officer Jenny for Pokemon abuse. Narrowing his eyes he said, and what happens when I win? Growling he said, if you win I leave you on your merry little way, which let me remind you will not be happening. The kid smirked, saying, fine loser, let's go, what are the rules? Calming down slightly he said, it's simple, a 3-on-3 battle. Neither side is able to switch unless the Pokemon fighting is unable to continue. When one side is out of Pokemon the trainer loses. We will have one of them act as ref. He turned to see Aaron walk forward. I'll act as ref for the match. Naruto stood on one side of the Rockland while the random trainers stood on the other. Hey kid, what's your name? Mike, and prepare to lose, he said, bringing out a Pokeball as Naruto did the same, slipping on a pair of sunglasses. The match between Naruto and Mike will now begin. As stated, this will be a 3-on-3 battle. When one side is unable to battle, the fight is over. The rules are simple, no substitutions or outside interference. Should someone break one of these rules, then the battle will be considered a forfeit, with the one who didn't will be the winner. Trainers, present your first Pokemon, he said. Go Staravia, show him who's boss. Chris, leave no trace. The two trainers tossed out their Pokémon as Naruto's opponent, and the three accompanying him were awed by the rare coloration on his first Pokémon. She looked at her opponent, then to Naruto, saying, "Are you kidding me, hun?" He chuckled, saying, I know, but this is important. This guy has been abusing his Pokémon." You could see a scowl on its face, making him get serious as he pressed a button on the side of his glasses. This is one of his inventions, the status glasses. It acts as a reader to show the wearer the condition of the Pokémon he's battling and their level. If they're your Pokémon, it will show a Pokéball near along with its moves. Narrowing his eyes, he thought, now let's see what you've got. The display read as he looked towards Chris. First, Chrysanthemum Ralt's condition. Perfect. Type. Psychic, Fairy LV. 15 Gender. Female moves. Psyshock. Calm Mind, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, turning his sights to the airborne Staravia, making him scowl. Staravia type. Normal, Flying LV. 10 Gender. Female. Condition. Poor. He scowled, saying telepathically, Chris, be careful with her, she's in poor condition. Same could possibly be said for his other Pokémon too. She nodded as the trainer said, Staravia, start things off with gust and send that little ragdoll airborne. Naruto snapped his two fingers as she focused a surge of electricity at her opponent and sent it at the bird, letting it fall. How did you do that? Grr, get up, you damn bird, and use aerial ace, he shouted as the injured Staravia staggered as it flew into the air when it made a downward descent at high speeds as Naruto snapped his fingers twice, slowly making it jump over the bird, sending a low-powered thunderbolt at the bird, knocking it out. Winner of the first fight is Naruto and Chris. Mike, please send out your next Pokémon. Naruto, do you wish to switch out Pokémon? Aaron asked as the trainer was about to send out his second Pokémon. He turned to Chris, who stood there bored out of her mind, making him say no. Well, continue. The trainer smirked, tossing Puccina, making Naruto frown at what he read. Puccina LV. 12 Gender. Male type. Dark condition. Poor. Get ready to lose, use bite. He ordered the already weak Puccina to charge at the bored Ralts as she awaited Naruto's next order. Chris, wait till the last minute and jump, firing energy ball, he said, getting a nod, waiting for it to inch closer as its teeth were showing. Now, he ordered, making her nod, jumping over the dog, firing energy ball into the back of his head, making it tumble. Now while it's down, use thunderbolt, he said as she sent a bolt of electricity from her hand as it hit dead on, causing an explosion, revealing an unconscious Puccina, making Mike go irate. Winner of the second fight is Naruto and Chris. Fighter, please send out your next Pokémon, Aaron said. Oh, sidelines. Oh, wow, this kid is good. Even though he had the type disadvantage against his opponent, they still won without taking damage, Flint said, getting a nod from Cynthia. I know, but what I don't understand is every time the boy sends out a new Pokémon, he frowned. What could those glasses be showing him? She asked, eyeing Naruto with a small blush as Flint looked at her from the corner of his eye. You felt it too coming from the kid? He said, getting a wide-eyed look. How did you? She started, only to get a hand to the face. Cynthia, I am no fool, even though I act like one. I know you're not normal, just like the kid, and from the way his sisters acted, same for them. What has you four connected I don't know, but I do know is that you feel something for the kid, and let's be honest, when the kid is old enough to go out alone as a trainer, he's viewed as an adult to the world, he said. How did you know? She asked. It's simple, Cynthia, I've been your friend as long as we've been Monatos. Monato and I have grown in age, yet you haven't in the slightest. Then there is the fact that your aura is stronger than that of a human who's sensitive to aura, or that of a regular Pokémon. As I said, you're bad at covering your tracks, but I'll keep my mouth shut, he said, turning back to the battle as she did the same. Flint, Thank you, she said, getting a pat on the back, making her smile. Oh, back to the fight. Oh, trainer, send out your last Pokémon. Aaron repeated, making the trainer comply as he threw out to Naruto's surprise a white Sneasel with black claws and feet with a gray tail feather at her tail matching the color of her ears. She looked worse for wear. Sneasel type. Dark, Ice Gender. Female LV. 10 Condition. Poor. Naruto frowned as he thought to the Sneasel, do you like having this man as your partner? The Sneasel jolted, only for Naruto to respond quickly, don't react, just think I am the trainer you're fighting against. I found your trainer abusing a Trapinch and Charmander, so I decided to apprehend him. I am going to give the Pokémon a choice if they want to stay with me, so I can tend to them, or leave them with a professor who can take care of you all. The Sneasel thought, yes, please save me from this hell. The man is a monster. He nodded, thinking, Chris, you hear all that? She nodded, getting ready. Please love, you're always the bleeding heart, but that's what we love about you. Stay on your toes, she's a slippery one, he said, getting a nod. Sneasel, use Shadow Claw. Her trainer commanded as she ran, and almost in an instant was in front of Chris, making the two of them go wide-eyed. Chris, take it, he said, knowing the attack would be too quick to dodge as she was slashed at by the claw. With her being part fairy, the damage wasn't so severe as it normally would. Sending her flying, she got up, brushing herself off. He said, Chris, use Calm Mind and fire off a round of energy balls. She complied as the area went silent save for a single drop of water. She took aim and fired several volleys as each landed before her trainer could give a counter command, sending her flying into a tree, leaving swirls in her eyes. The winner is Naruto, Eren said as Naruto walked towards Mike. A deal's a deal. Give me your trainer information and hand over your Pokeballs, Naruto said as the boy was about to comply till he slugged Naruto across the jaw, making him skid back as he ran. Oh no, you don't, you little shit, Naruto said, running after him. Thanks to his physical training, he quickly caught him as he tackled the boy to the ground, reaching into his back pocket, pulling out some zip ties, locking his hands together as he reached into the boy's pockets, showing a flipping Pokédex that was blue and his Pokemon's Pokeballs, while the ones for the Trapinch and Charmander were already destroyed. The Pokédex information said Trainer ID, Mike Sampson. Region of birth, Hoenn, Twin Root Town. Age, 12. Trainer license, Beginner. Professor license, N. A. Breeder license, N. A. Pokemon Ranger license, N. A. Badges, 0. Pokemon seen, 12. Entering the police's number on his X transceiver, he called when the face of Officer Jenny appeared. Hello, Officer Jenny of Sinnoh here, what is the emergency? Yes, Officer Jenny, this is Professor Naruto, he said. Ah, Professor Naruto, it's great to hear from you. What seems to be the problem? I came across a trainer who has been abusing his Pokemon for quite some time from what I've gathered, and need you to take him to prison until Professor Rowan returns to deal with him. I've already taken his Pokemon and am on the way to get his Pokemon treated for immediate aid. She nodded. I'll be there right away. The signal went dead, making him cut his connection as he told Flint to keep an eye on him to make sure he doesn't go anywhere as he walked towards the two seriously injured Pokemon as Charmander sent a threatening glare his way as he made his way near her. Stay away, he heard the Charmander roar as she struggled to stand in front of Trapinch. He raised his hands while taking off the glasses, putting them in his pants pocket. It's okay. I am not going to hurt either of you. I am just going to get you and the rest medical attention, okay? Not trusting him, she sent a wave of black fire at him. Stay away. He took the brunt of the fire at his arm, making him skid back as his shirt was burnt, with his skin showing signs of third-degree burns. He thought, damn, those flames could burn steel. Thank goodness for Arceus teaching me how to change my type. Naruto. Flint yelled, about to run forward until Naruto raised his good arm. It's fine, keep an eye on that guy. He continued to walk forward as he said, it's all right, see, I mean neither you nor your friend any harm. Will you let me get you all help? Her growls started to soften until he had her and Trapinch in his arm as he shifted her to his shoulder while holding Trapinch in his good arm, chuckling lightly as she licked his face. I am sorry, she said, getting a soft smile. It's all right. I know you were just being defensive over your friend. Now let's get you all to a Pokemon Center, he said as he placed the guys' Pokemon into their respective Pokeballs and turned towards Flint and the others who had a worried expression. I am fine guys, it's just some minor burning. Nothing a little salve and medicine can't fix, he said, sitting next to Cynthia as he used his good hand to gently rub Trapinch's head, getting a soft sigh making him smile. Plucking a blade of grass from the earth, he placed Charmander next to Trapinch as he played a tune on the blade of grass, attracting all the Pokemon in the forest to their location with gentle smiles as their eyes were closed, listening to the soft sounds. Flint and Eren listened to the music with their eyes closed, while Cynthia looked at Naruto with a loving glance as she watched various small Pokemon take a spot around Naruto. Small flying types rested in his hair while the others either took refuge on his lap or somewhere close to him. She thought, it seems he is the one, Lady Arceus. I can't wait to see what he looks like when he's older and passes my test. The sound of an engine overtook the soft sound of his flute, making the Pokemon disperse quickly as he saw Officer Jenny roll in on her motorcycle as she stopped in front of them. Ah, Naruto, this the guy? She asked, getting a nod. Yes, this is him, officer. I have all his information right here. His name is Mike Sampson from Twin Root Town in Hoenn. He's a beginner trainer with 0 badges, Naruto said, listing off several things as she jotted them down. She grabbed the boy and placed him in the sidecar, saying, thank you so much, Professor. I will make sure he's held in containment until Rowan returns. He nodded as she drove off while grabbing Charmander, placing her back on his shoulder along with Chris as she rested in her Pokeball while gently grabbing Trapinch with his good arm. Come on, the Pokemon Center is just a little away from here, he said, getting a nod from the others as they began to continue their trek. Oh, Pokemon Center, oh. After the exhausting run towards the Pokemon Center, he saw Nurse Joy about to walk into the back and said, Nurse Joy. Getting her attention, she turned around and saw Naruto. As she was about to greet him, she saw his injured Pokemon. My word, what happened to these Pokemon? I saw a trainer beating these two, so confiscated them and the rest of his Pokemon to make sure they got the proper care they needed. We should hurry, the two of them received some pretty serious injuries, he said, getting a nod as she had two Chansey. Turning to one, she said, take these Pokemon and put them in the right away. It nodded as she took the Charmander, Trapinch and the other Pokeballs he had and put them on a cart as she carted them off. And you make sure he gets medical attention for his arm. Arceus knows how his sisters are going to react if they see him like that, she said as the other nursing Pokemon complied, as it was common knowledge that his sisters were like mother hens and always harped over his well-being. Guiding him to a couch, she placed him down as she started healing his arm as the burns started to vanish slowly. The process took about an hour to finish when the light in the Pokemon Center went off as Nurse Joy walked out. How are they? He asked as she sighed in exhaustion. It was a miracle you helped them when you did. The Trapinch was on the verge of death when you saved it. The other Pokemon also had cases of malnourishment with improperly healed injuries which stunted their fighting abilities. What are you going to do with them? She said. I thought you would know me by now. I am going to ask them when they wake up if they want to stay with me, or I can send them to a professor who can care for them, seeing as I don't have a ranch they can live in for the time being, he said, getting a nod. Alright, they will be awake in a couple of hours. If you don't mind waiting for a moment, I can let you see them afterwards, she said, getting a nod. I would like that very much. Also, I am here to pick up some Pokemon food I placed down for delivery, he said as she went to her counter, returning with a large box as she placed it on the wooden table. If I can just get your information to verify this, Naruto, she said, getting a nod as he drew his card from his pocket as she went back to her desk, running it through. Alright, thank you, Naruto. I'll let you know when they're awake. For the time being, rest, your arms is still hurt, she said, getting a nod as he let his Pokemon out of their Pokeball. Well, girls, if Chris hasn't already told you, we're possibly getting new friends to have around, and I need you all to welcome them with open arms. They've dealt with an abusive trainer and will be hesitant at first, so take things slow with them, he said, getting cries of acknowledgement. Hey Naruto, Cynthia said, making him raise an eyebrow. What's up, Cynthia? He asked. What's with those Pokeballs? I've never seen a model like those before, she said, making the others look closer at them and saw they weren't like the standard Pokeballs trainers used. This ball was black with a white core and lines spreading outward. These are my own models. I've made them when I heard from Professor Oak about an organization using a dark Pokeball to remove their inhibitions, filling them with strength while giving them dark desires. Mine is a countermeasure, the Twilight Ball, he said, showing it. Interested, she asked. Twilight Ball? He nodded. The Twilight Ball, much like the world between light and darkness, balances out a Pokemon. While the Dark Ball fills it with darkness, the Twilight Ball fills it with the power of light and darkness, helping to unlock a Pokemon's untapped potential, though you still have to train a Pokemon. After all, nothing is free. They were quite interested when they asked more about them. He said that they were in the prototype stage and there are quite a few bugs he's got to work out. The four continued to chat as they asked Naruto about what he dreamed of doing when he was old enough to go out on his own and such, while he asked them what they've done since their time starting out as beginners. He was interested as they talked about the different strategies they've come up with for training and how they got the idea to reach where they are today. They asked him what he intended to do when he was older, as he responded, I intend to become a champion and to host my own Pokemon tournament, the largest Pokemon tournament the world has ever known. A place where all trainers, beginner and advanced, can test their mettle to see how far they've come. Flint raised an eyebrow and said, that seems like a pretty big goal there, kid. Something that grand will require a lot of resources and funding to make possible, at the most a few years. He nodded. I know. It's going to take some time. I've already started saving up from the various research projects I've done and the products I've sold. Products? Aaron asked, getting a smirk as he pointed to the X transceiver and the glasses. Yup, I've worked with the company who made the X transceiver and sold them the rights as co-ownership, with the profits going 60-40 in my favor. Although I am considering a new design as the small screen is inconvenient. These are another prototype I am working on. After getting the idea of snagging a poacher's visor, he placed the glasses along with several others in various fashions. What do they do? Cynthia asked, holding a pair that looked like a pair of Ray-Bans. Once connected to the wearer's Pokédex, the user can use these to show a Pokémon's condition of health, their type, their level and gender. It will also record they've seen data onto your Pokédex without the need to take it out and show if you have caught the Pokémon or not. It's still in its experimental phase, but these will be my next biggest product. Though the size has much to be desired, I might try a contact lens as the finalized product. I don't know for certain, he said, shrugging. My word, how do you have the time to work on all of these? Aaron asked with a raised eyebrow. The boy shrugged as Nurse Joy came in, saying, you can come in and speak to them now, though you may want to be gentle with them as they're still recovering. He nodded as he turned to the others. You all want to come? They shook their head as the Sinnoh champion said, it's fine, you can go, we will wait out here. He nodded, walking through the corridor. Pokemon The 5 Pokemon he had rescued were resting in their beds, awake as they watched Naruto walk into the room. Knock knock, hope you 5 don't mind a guest, he said jokingly, getting tackled by the Trapinch as it hopped into his lap as he fell back. Unprepared for the unexpected movement, he fell back with the Trapinch in his arms as she continued to say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saving us. He laughed good-naturedly as he got up with Trapinch in his arms, saying, no need to thank me. I can't stand people abusing their Pokemon. Gives us real trainers a bad name. Though I have to ask, are you all alright? They all nodded, making him smile as they said they either had some bruises or injuries resetting. He said, well, as your friend Sneasel here might have told you all, I was going to offer you all a new life. You can either join me as one of my Pokemon where you will be happier, or I could send you to someone who can give you a better life without having to deal with a trainer like your last one. Staravia chose to go with his second option, just like the Poochyena, while the Sneasel, Charmander and Trapinch agreed to stay with him, making him pull out 3 spare Twilight Balls as he gently tapped them on the head, letting the Pokeballs shake till a soft chime was heard. Letting him smile at the others. All right, you two, till I can get in touch with someone I know who can look out for you properly. Poochyena, Staravia, I know the perfect trainer who can look after you. She adores flying types. She gave a sharp cry as she flew onto his shoulder while he was going to pick up Poochyena, saying, come on boy, I am going to take you home with me. He hopped into his arms, licking his face as he left, while the two left the hospital room. Pokemon Center lobby. Walking in, he checked the Pokemon out in his care as he grabbed the supplies he meant to get and said, all right guys, I got what I needed. Cynthia asked, Naruto, what are you going to do with them? Holding Poochyena in his arms still, he shrugged, shifting the box under his other arm. Well, Sneasel, Trapinch and Charmander chose to stay with me. I am going to give Staravia here to my sister to look after, and Poochyena here, I don't know, I may keep him as a pet if he isn't up for battling, or we could go for contests. They nodded as Naruto grabbed his stuff while leaving. He missed 3 figures fade behind the trees into nothingness while walking away. Namikaze home. Naruto. They heard as H turned to see his sisters running after him, catching that strong scent coming from the two of them, and oddly enough Cynthia as well. Hey guys. Oh Skyla, I got you a new friend, she's been abused and needs someone who will keep her company. I was thinking you could, he said as Staravia flew from his shoulder and onto Skyla's padded shoulder as it nuzzled against her cheek. They saw his injuries as they fussed over him, while Elisa slapped him upside the head with a frightening glare with an undercast of worry, while Skyla casted him a worried glance. Elisa said, I thought you told us you'd be careful. He softly rubbed the back of his head, saying, in my defense, a Pokemon trainer was abusing his Pokemon and I wasn't going to stand for it. Her eyes softened as she brought him into a hug, saying, all right you red-headed idiot. I swear you and Skyla can be so amazing yet so stupid at the same time, it amazes me. Said Redheads gave an indignant hey. It's the truth and the two of you know it. She responded, making the two huff, turning their heads to the side. As Cynthia and the others checked their watches, they saw the time, saying, wow, time really flew. We gotta get going, we've got to prepare for the next league competition to start in a few months, so we'll be seeing you all. Tell your parents we're sorry we couldn't stick around. All 3 left as Naruto and the others dispersed in the house as the other gym leaders and such had left already, with his father not even acknowledging him again as usual while saying good night to his sisters and mother. He and the others turned in with all of his Pokemon were all collected on his bed, with each of them unaware of the coming days. Chamber report. Lugia, Raikou, Giratina, Mewtwo. What do you think of our chosen? A large equine shape asked in a feminine voice said. An image of a dog next to her sisters said he started showing signs of activating his lineage, it just takes one more push to make it possible. The equine asked, and his care for Pokemon. The large bird said happily, he's very tender and loving towards Pokemon. Just today Raikou and I just saw him fight a trainer who was abusing his Pokémon and took them to receive immediate attention. He's a caring soul for all Pokémon, much like yourself, Lady Arceus. She nodded, turning to the stoic two-legged shadow as she asked, just a question, if we're all to be his mates, why is it I had to be the one to bear him? With a filthy human no less. The man is an arrogant fool who shows favoritism yet has contempt for him. Giratina cut in, and yet you show our future husband kindness even though he is partially human until he is of age? She growled. Nobody asked you, Giratina. I only show him kindness because I feel a bond towards him. I would have confronted him if I wasn't the bastard's wife. The second largest serpentine Pokémon with 6 appendage-like wings said, rolling her large red and black ringed eyes, said, please, you've held a soft spot for him since he came from your womb and you know it, though I came across some information that will prove to be interesting. This caught all the figure's attention as she continued, he apparently wants to make a large Pokémon tournament that will be a multi-staged event with trainers of all skill entering to see how far they've come and fight against one another in various situations to see how they handle the ability to act under stress. This does seem interesting. How long do you think it would take for him to accomplish this? The queen asked, getting Giratina to do what could be seen as a shrug. I do not know, my lady. All I do know is that it will take some time to get the whole event planned out and will take a lot of money to help organize the event. From what he said, at the most it will take a couple of years, but he said he would wait after he completed the league he would attend, she said, getting a questioning tilt of the head from what appeared to be two plane-like figure next to the other. What league was he going to attend? The shortest of the two as she was answered. He said he was going to attend where the Queen of Fairies and the Queen of the Dark Skies reside, she said, getting an understanding look from the Queen. He's going to Kalos. Rayquaza, aren't you going there with that young man in a few years as well? She asked, getting a nod from a large wingless serpent. Yes, mother, but he's such a little kid. He goes at things guns a-blazing and doesn't think of a plan once things get hectic, she said, getting a snicker from a tiny floating cat-like shadow. Ah, calm down, sis. He's kind enough. Hell, I am sure Naruto and Ash will become great friends, she said, getting a nod from the Queen of Pokémon as she said. That concludes today's meeting. Soon we shall each administer a test for our chosen. When his journey begins, if he passes each of our tests we will become his. You can make the test whatever way you want, but they must be fair and only he and his Pokémon can be involved, understood? She asked, getting a series of cries in approval. She nodded as she said, all right. Then this meeting is adjourned. Everyone bowed as they each faded away after taking on a human form, with Raikou taking on the familiar form of a twin-tailed blonde female as she vanished in a clap of thunder. Lugia took the form of an aviation pilot as she jumped in the air, disappearing in a burst of wind. Rayquaza took the form of a short girl with her hair being long as it was held with 2 pigtails as she did a spin as she jumped gracefully into the stratosphere. Giratina took the form of a familiar blonde with twin hair ties. She shook her head, vanishing in a dark portal showing a distorted version of Naruto's town, or more specifically his room, as she stood in a full body mirror in front of his bed showing the redhead sleeping as the portal closed. While Mewtwo turned into a tall, pale, red-headed woman with cold purple eyes looked at the reflection of Naruto before they warmed as she vanished in a flash of light, with Naruto none the wiser. Naruto, it's time to wake up or we'll be late for our plane to Kalos. A soft voice said to a sleeping redhead as he nuzzled against a black-furred Infernape with a gray stomach and tail with white flames on its head, as it had several parts of her body being guarded by red plates on her hands, chest, knees and shoulders. This boy was Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Arceus' chosen, and today is the day he starts his journey to Kalos, or it would be if he could wake up him 5 more minutes, Chris. Yay Chris, he's so comfy, the Infernape said, holding his head against her breast until the two of them were hit by a lightning bolt. The offending Pokémon who hit them was a tall Gardevoir, where the green was supposed to be. Instead she was an onyx black color who had a not so happy look on her menacing red eyes that hid behind the wired framed lens of her glasses as she gripped her book in one hand while her other hand has outstretched, crackling with black electricity. Hits, you horny bitch, if you're going to pull that crap, wait until we make a decent mark in Kalos by winning a badge first. Please. The black Gardevoir, Chrysanthemum, begged as a white Weavile, Tsukiyumi, a silvery gray Flygon, Kazul, a white Lucario, Kagutsuchi, and a black Charizard, Amaterasu, stalked forward. While on the side watching while glaring daggers at hits as she sweated uncomfortably from the glares was a girl wearing black short shorts, and a zipped-up shirt that left her stomach bare while revealing cleavage. This was Kuroka, a Zoroark he found 4 years ago when it was just a Zorua abandoned in a forest crying. And a dark-skinned girl with cold red eyes and dark white hair with a black streak wearing a sleeveless white fleece turtleneck and tight black leather jeans wearing black shoes. This was Elysium and Absol he found not too long ago when he left to get more Pokemon food so he would have enough for his journey when it came stumbling out of the forest. Wait Naruto baby, don't leave me here in this den of leopards, Hit said as he walked into the shower as they converged on her. Girls please. You would have done the same if it were you. Where's your sympathy? Their eyes glowed red as they said at the same time, there ain't no sympathy for the dead. He sighed looking at the clock, seeing it read 5:45, making him sigh. He ran to the shower. Over the last 6+ years he grew not only in skill but in strength, not just the physical but the emotional as well. After speaking with Cynthia and the others, the three of them told their fellow gym leaders and champions about him and his life and goal. Physically he grew from 49 to 56 as his hair grew to his leg's length when he let it down, but if he didn't it was always in a ponytail that would hit the back of his knees. He walked out of the shower wearing a pair of black boxers with the towel around his neck. He walked by his full-length mirror and saw a flash for a second. As he looked back, seeing only his reflection, he thought I just saw someone for a second. Nah, just stayed up too late making sure I had all my gear packed. Walking to his closet he got changed into a pair of black jeans with 2 large black belts with slots on them to hold his Pokeballs and had multiple pockets to hold a surplus other items. Picking another shirt, he grabbed a black long-sleeve shirt with an open black hooded jacket that had gray tribal designs spread across his body. That's another thing he and the others have been experiencing. Every time they see someone they pick up a strong defining scent and a silhouette of a Pokemon behind them as it vanished. The 5 he picked up came from his mom, his sisters and his newest friends Cynthia and Fantina, but he can't figure out heads or tails of it all. Another thing is that changed is that the 3 are more affectionate with him. Lingering kisses on the cheek, a long hug, sometimes they, his sisters, would sleep with him in his room. He packed enough of his clothes for their journey as he said, alright girls, enough rough housing, it's time we get a move on. We gotta get to Kalos and meet Professor Sycamore. The large dust cloud that was near his bed dispersed to show several perfectly content Pokemon and one horribly bruised twitching mess laying on the ground groaning. As he shook his head he took out his Pokeballs and had them returned to them while he fixed his bed and cleaned his room. He looked at his clock showing it said 6 a.m. even making him roll his eyes. He grabbed everything. He would need a set of headphones for his music player. He inserted his finished product, the Poke Contacts, his Hollow Caster, the Kalos region Pokédex in black and all of his research. Walking out of his room he made his way down the hall and said, alright guys, I'll call you all when I get to Kalos. With his hand on the door he sighed knowing they weren't even there. It was the usual for him during something important that involved him, they were never around. He simply locked up and walked towards the airport with his Pokemon comforting him mentally through their Pokeballs, making him smile knowing someone cares. He made it to the airport and saw Staraptor, the same Pokemon he gave his sister Skyla 4 years ago. As it grew to be an amazing flyer rubbing under her chin, she cooed, hey girl, how are you? Shouldn't you be with my sister in the skies? She said yes, but she, Elisa and Lady Kashina wanted me to give you this in a note. He noticed a note attached to one leg and a package tied closed tightly with string being gripped by her talons. As he took them from her he read, dear son, sorry I couldn't be there to at least see you off on your journey. Your father said that this was more important than seeing off one of his children as they begin their first adventure. In here is something from Elisa, Skyla and I each, but we don't want you to open the packages until you touch down in Kalos, okay? Gotta go sweetie and good luck, I know you'll do great. Love Kashina. He smiled as he gently patted the large avian bird saying, alright thank you Staraptor, I'll see you when I get back, okay? She cried and flew off while he ran to his gate to board. While listening to his music he heard another plane fly by as he caught sight of his sister Skyla gesture to his Hollow Caster. Activating it, a 3D image of Skyla came on the other end. Hey Naruto. Sorry I couldn't come to see you off in the traditional sense, my boss has been an ass lately. Anyways, in the box is something from me, Mom and Skyla. Don't open it until you land in Kalos. Got that, and call them both before you do. CYA Naruto, and show me lots of flying Pokemon, okay? Bye bye and good luck, though it isn't like you're going to need it or anything. She waved goodbye as she turned away, diving from the side as she made a U-turn to head back to Unova. He closed his eyes until the plane landed, which wouldn't be for another couple of hours. 5 hours later. This is your flight attendant speaking. If you could please return your seats to their upright position, we will now be making our descent into Lumio City. Thank you for flying Cresselia Air, the flight attendant said as he did as he was told. When they landed he stretched as Chris, Hits and Kagetsuchi came out of his Pokeball. As they walked through the town, they got a lot of odd looks from other trainers when one stepped up and said, "Hey kid." He turned and said, "What? How about you give me those Pokemon? It's obvious that someone as pathetic as you won't do them any good," he said, getting a glare from his Pokemon as they shot the trainer a glare. As Naruto said, "I don't like it when trash call me out about my Pokemon, and if you want to lose against me, fine, but don't cry when I win," Naruto said in an icy tone. Naruto turned to one of the boy's friends and asked, "One of you mind being the ref?" A girl a little older than him said, "I will. This will be funny watching this." As they walked to an empty park, the two trainers stood to the side as the girl said, "This will be a 3-on-3 match between, kid, what's your name?" "Naruto Uzumaki," he said with his arms crossed as he and his Pokemon stood to the side getting wide-eyed looks from the other trainers. Between Naruto Uzumaki and Caleb Croft, when one side is unable to battle, the fight will be over. "Trainers, send out your first Pokemon," she said. "Go Golurk, crush this brat. Kagetsuchi, leave nothing behind." As Naruto blinked, the information came to his contact lenses as he heard a voice come from his headphones while looking at the two fighters. Golurk type. Ground, Ghost LV. 62 Gender. Male condition. Good. Kagetsuchi Lucario type. Fighting, Steel LV. 65 Gender. Female. Condition. Perfect. Naruto smirked and said, "If you're not going to make your move, then I will." Kagetsuchi use agility, then follow it up with Dark Pulse. Her muscles tensed as she vanished behind the large rock titan as it was hit from behind by a dark blast that echoed across the ground, making it fly away. "Golurk!" the boy shouted as it was sent tumbling till the light in its eye turned off. Kagetsuchi appeared near Naruto with her arm around his neck, smirking as the ref said, astonished with a crowd growing, "Winner of the first match, Naruto and Kagetsuchi. Naruto, would you like to switch Pokemon while Caleb sends out his next?" Naruto looked at Kagetsuchi, who shrugged as she swayed her hips, plopping a seat next to the others as Hits ran to the front, making him smirk at what she said. "I've been itching for a fight. Come on, bring out whatever you got." Hits Infernape type. Fire, Fighting LV. 64 Gender. Female. Condition. Perfect. "We're dying of old age over here, get a move on it," Naruto said as he gestured to Hits as she tapped her foot impatiently with an annoyed look on her face. Snapping out of his shock, he threw out a 3-headed Pokemon. "Go Hydreigon, use Earthquake." Hydreigon type. Dragon, Dark LV. 64 Gender. Male condition. Good. "Use the tree to get in the air and get in close," he shouted as the ground started to shake. She was already in the tree as she got in close. "Now Sky Uppercut." She jumped and delivered an uppercut to Hydreigon's main head, making it rock back into a tree. Hydreigon used Dragon Pulse. The boy shouted as the smoke was cleared by a blue burst of energy that took the form of a dragon as it came flying. He snapped his fingers twice as the attack closer. It exploded. "Haha. Not so hot now, or ya?" On the other side of the smoke, Naruto's contact lenses glowed red as Naruto saw Hits resting pretty under the ground. He said, "Use Flamethrower." She came from underground behind the dragon, hitting it in the back with a pressurized white flame as it crashed into the ground with Hits waiting at Naruto's side. When it cleared, it showed the dragon unconscious as white flames licked its body. "Winner of the second match, Naruto and Hits. Both fighters, send out your next Pokemon." He looked at Hits as she tapped her chin a few times before nodding, somersaulting over to Chris as she put her book down next to Kagetsuchi. Chrysanthemum Gardevoir type. Psychic, Fairy LV. 62. Gender. Female condition. Perfect. "Ready for a fight?" he asked her as she adjusted her glasses. "You act as if this will be an actual fight," she said dully as they watched a 2-legged purple frog come out. "Go Toxicroak." "Poison Jab," he said. Toxicroak type. Fighting, Poison. LV. 58 Gender. Male condition. Normal, he said telepathically. "Chris, when he gets in close, use Thunderbolt," followed up by Psyshock. She nodded as when it was a few inches away she unleashed a strong surge of electricity came from her hand, getting a pained cry from the toad when it was quickly hit by a purple burst of psychic energy, sending it across the field near his trainer unconscious. She looked at him again and said, "I repeat, you act as if that would have been a challenge." He chuckled while the trainer said, "Winner of the battle is Naruto Uzumaki from Sinnoh." He did a mock bow as he heard an explosion up near the Lumiose City Tower, making him go wide-eyed. He activated his hollow caster and entered Sycamore's number with it ringing until his image appeared. "Naruto, thank goodness, I need you to get to the tower immediately," he said in a hurry as Naruto asked, "Professor, what's going on?" He only said I'll answer when you get here at the tower, please hurry. With that said, his image faded as he returned his Pokémon to their balls as he said to the others, all of you get any civilians or Pokémon in the area as far from the tower as possible. He activated his ads. Yes people, I added air gear to the story, I hate normal rollerblades, and applied pressure to his feet as he took off, jumping high into the air, flying from rooftop to rooftop. Oh Lumio's tower, oh Sycamore, Naruto said, landing next to the professor as he turned around to see Naruto. Naruto, thank goodness. Some group wearing red came and did something to your Garchomp while we were showing a trainer about Mega Evolutions, he said as he pointed up to the top of the tower. Is that where those explosions came from? Naruto said as he nodded. Yay, she's been trying to fight it, but the more she does the greater the damage it deals to her. You gotta hurry, he said as Naruto nodded, using his skates to trek up the side of the tower. Oh top of the tower, oh Ash, this is crazy. You're going to get hurt. A dark-skinned girl with her hair done with it ending at her legs with two pigtails on the side of her head, wearing a black button-up blouse with markings similar to Rayquaza's in white, with a small dragon Pokémon hiding in her hair. This was Iris from Unova, who decided to join Ash on his journey to see more dragon Pokémon. We have to stop it or it's only going to hurt itself and others, as the boy shouted with his hat flying off of his head in the wind. He went to make a step forward till he heard Zoran, you have to stop. Landing in front of him was a boy as tall as him, if not slightly taller, with long red hair with silver streaks, stood in front of the large dragon as she stared at him with confused eyes. And Naruto. Help me, the dragon said as she struggled against hitting him. Zoran, Garchomp, female LV, 69 condition. Failing. Hey, you're going to hurt yourself, get away. Ash said, watching him slowly step forward as to not provoke it. It's okay Zoran. I am here, let's get hold still and I'll get that collar off, okay? He said softly, ignoring the shouts from the two behind him when she cried out as her claw gave of an electric charge, slashing him across the chest just enough to get blood, making him slide back. I see her staying here hasn't made her fighting skills any duller, Naruto said, getting up with the help of the two beside him. Hey, you alright? The dark-haired girl as he looked to his side. Yeah, but Zoran, I gotta help her. If I can just get that collar off, Naruto said as Ash patted him on the back. We can help, just tell us what we gotta do, he said, getting a smirk. I just need something to distract her long enough for me to get in close enough and remove the collar, and we can get from up here, he said as a tinny blue frog hopped up to his knee. Hey cutie, been some time since the last time I saw you was when I came out to Lumio's the first time. Think you can give us a hand? He asked, getting a salute from the small frog as she took some of her fluffing around her neck and tossed it at Garchomp's feet, sticking them there. Seeing her distracted by the young frog as she would swipe at her, tossing the fluff at her, making her even more sticky, he charged at her. As he got to her collar, he began to pull, making her cry out loudly, making the wind blow around them as Ash and Iris were holding on for dear life. Spending some time on the collar, he pulled out a pocket knife and began to slowly cut into the collar. When he finished, the collar exploded, sending the two of them off the side of the tower. Zoran. Come on, you gotta wake up. We're kind of falling to our death here, Naruto said, slapping her in the face a couple of times till her eyes snapped wide open as she righted herself while seeing him fall. Zoran, I would love it if you gave me a hand here, Naruto said as he was feet from the ground when a black blur caught him as they landed, revealing Garchomp, though now that they were lower to the ground they all noticed the difference between a normal Garchomp and this one. She was taller than the standard Garchomp, standing at 70, even with the predominant coloration on her being a gray bordering light black with the star on her head and the yellow on her stomach being red, as her eyes were light cauldron blue. Phew, cutting it kind of close there, huh? How are you feeling? He asked, rubbing her head, getting a content growl to others, but to him it was horrible. I was forced to do things I didn't want and I hurt so many people. That group wanted to force me to activate my Mega Evolution and learn how to tap into it in hopes of recreating the world. A world in their image, Naruto said when he felt her tongue drag across his cut chest when he heard footsteps coming in his direction. Naruto, thank goodness you and Zoran are alright. You are both alright, aren't you? The professor asked, with Ash and Iris looking at him with questioning glances. Yeah, I am alright, Sycamore. I was intending on coming back to your lab to get Zoran and Chespin in hopes of starting my adventure here when you told me to come here, Naruto said when he turned to Ash and Iris with Froka in her arms. Though I gotta thank these two for doing all they could to help her. Really, I owe you both my gratitude, he said with a smile when Sycamore said. Alright everyone, it's late and we could all use a good night's rest after the exhausting events that happened. How about I let you all sleep in my lab for the day and we can deal with everything tomorrow? He suggested getting a shrug from Naruto and the others as Sycamore gave Naruto Zoran's Pokeball, seeing as she was having trouble staying on her feet. He had her return, placing her in her slot on his multi-Pokeball belt as he and the rest follow Sycamore to his lab, passing a flashing mirror with 5 images again, which he brushed off again. "Oh, between worlds, oh, he really is careless," the large dragon said, only to get a huff from the only avian and 2 cats in the group, while a purple shadowy figure with white smoke like hair watching with her arms crossed. "Yay, but it is because of his nature, though I wonder if Rayquaza's going to start her test sometime soon. We got a lot of girls interested in him from just hearing about his loving nature towards Pokemon, and they're going to want to start soon," the purple cat said, getting a nod while being nudged in the side by the other cat. "Please Mewtwo, the only ones who want to test him more is the 5 of us and Lady Arceus herself," the cat next to her nodded, getting a sigh of annoyance. "Geez, you are all such little kids. Ash and I both believe he's passed my test. His willingness to put himself at risk to help a Pokemon shows his right to be king, for what is a king without love for his people?" The large wingless dragon said, appearing in astral form, said, watching the screen. "Rayquaza? When did you administer your test?" Darkrai asked, turning to the large black dragon in shock. "Quite a while ago, when some kids thought that since he was young he would be easy to win against until his Pokemon destroyed that quickly placed bravado. The moment the explosion happened at the tower, he gave orders to get all civilians and Pokemon as possible out of the area. He is already capable of taking a leadership role when necessary," she said, watching him sit on the couch in the living room talking with her human form as she bandaged him while blushing, getting a healthy chuckle from the girls, making her huff. "Please, it's not like you girls won't be blushing. He's 14 with the body of a man. If you got a problem then bite me. Although you just may want to, because due to mom's rules I get to mate him first. Enjoy the show, ladies," she said smugly as she turned her head looking away. She noticed he was trying to get her attention, so she quickly faded from view, as did the others while they continued to watch. "Oh, Sycamore's spare bedroom, oh, Iris," Naruto said, gently shaking her, making her eyes widen seeing him so close as she quickly fell back, letting him get a peek at her underwear from her long shirt. He thought, black stripes, nice. She's more developed than I thought. Must be because of the clothes, they a little baggy on her." Fixing her shirt, she asked, "What is it?" silently hoping he saw her. "I was wondering when we were up on the tower, when you helped me up, I saw something," he said hesitantly, wanting to play this by ear in case she was dangerous. Sensing this, she reassured him by placing her hand on his shoulder. "Calm down, Naruto, I'll answer whatever it is you want to know." He nodded, liking the feel of her hands. He asked, "When you helped me up I saw a shadow behind you, not a person's shadow but a Pokemon's, a large Pokemon like a dragon. It's the same for my mom, sisters, Cynthia and Fantina. Just who or what are you all?" She smiled, sitting so close next to him. She placed her head on his shoulder. "Well, Naruto, have you ever wondered why Arceus chose you for these abilities you have? And yes, I know all about them. You'd be surprised about how fast word can spread from the lips of one Pokemon to another." Draping her arm around his shoulder, giving him a view of her breast, she said, "I wouldn't be surprised if that little Puccina told the Pokemon of Hoenn all about you and your kind nature as they decide to see you for themselves. But to your question, Lady Arceus didn't just choose you to represent her as her chosen but as her king." Raising an eyebrow, he asked, "How would a human be a legendary Pokemon's king?" "I mean, yeah, I can use aura and the abilities Pokemon use, but I am only human." Unexpectedly, she giggled. "Oh, Naruto, silly, naive Naruto, you are no simple human. Ash, he may be human, but he's Lady Arceus' knight." He asked, "If I am not human, then what am I? And you still didn't answer my question. Who are you all really?" She smiled. "Well, I and your mom, sisters, and friends are Arceus' daughters, so what do you think that makes you?" In a flash of light, she grew slightly taller with yellow lines spreading across her body, mainly her arms, legs and head. She also had a long tail as her eyes took a reptilian slit. She couldn't help but laugh at his dumbfounded expression. His jaw dropped to the ground with his eyes the size of dinner plates. "I know I look good, cutie, but I still have more to tell you," she said, picking his jaw up from the ground, and sat next to him with her tail wrapped around his waist, pulling him in closer. "Now to your possible unasked question of why are Arceus children involved in human society and why we're here, or possibly why is your mother and sisters legendaries? It's simple," she said, bringing her face closer to his. "What is it then?" he said softly as her face was close to his own that he could feel her breath on his lips. "You," she said, sealing her lips against his as she sat on his lap, feeling her tongue brush against his lips. She brought her arms around his neck, massaging her nails in his scalp while he opened his mouth, letting her tongue dart in, wrestling with his own. The two went on for what seemed like hours but was only 10 minutes when the two separated with a string of saliva between them. Panting, he said, feeling a wet spot form on his sweatpants while she felt something poke her in the thigh. He said, panting, why me? I mean, I am nothing special, why did you all choose me? Smiling, she brought her face to his neck. She said, soft, oh Naruto, it's simple, not only are you the absolute best choice, you're kind and compassionate towards all Pokémon. You don't think of them as weapons or tools. You see us all for what we are, living beings who feel what humans do, love, hate, fear, joy, all things the heart experiences. You know this more than any human could imagine. This is why all of us chose you to be our king and mate. Although you had to pass a test we will each give you, and it's safe to say you passed mine when you first touched down in Kalos. She continued aft, kissing him some more. Still dazed, feeling her rub herself against him, he said, T-test? What test? Kissing his neck, she said, to see if you have the quality each of us looks for as a king and mate. I wouldn't be surprised if you passed quite a few of the girls' tests already, seeing as we've been watching you since the moment you were born, and ever since then you've proven yourself time and again, though for the ones you've already passed, meeting them will just be a formality. Pushing against him till he was on his back, lying down on the couch with her lying on top of him, she said, and with you passing my test you have proven that. Looking down at him as she sat up, sitting on his stomach, her hand glowed till a Pokeball with Rayquaza's markings showed in her hand, with the ball being black. You also have the right to have me assist you in battle as my trainer, just as you will have the right for the others, but first. Oh lemon, oh, she took off her shirt, showing her wearing a black bra with matching panties in which Naruto was wide-eyed. She said, Naruto, to solidify you being my mate you have to do the act with me. She kissed him again more feverishly as she slid her hands up and down his chest, with his hands sliding up and down his waist, making her moan into their kiss. Their hands continued to explore the other's body as his hands were holding tightly to her waist, while her hands slid down to the hem of his t-shirt and went under it to his bandage-covered chest, feeling his muscles, feeling herself grow hotter. Pulling away, he looked her in the eyes and saw love, devotion and lust evident in her eyes when she pulled her hands behind her back, undoing her bra, showing her high C-cup breast heave in time with the rapid rise and fall of her chest. She smiled and pushed her chest out proudly. You can touch me on more than just my hips, you know. I am not made of glass, besides women love it when you touch us. It makes us feel like we're wonderful pieces of art being appreciated. He nodded, smiling as he touched her breast, taking her left in his left hand, gently massaging them in his hands, getting an appreciative moan as he brought himself closer to her, taking a tentative lick to her neck. Ooh, that feels good. I guess you sleeping with your girls were a good thing. Ah, right there, she exclaimed as he got bolder, pushing her on her back, bringing her left breast to his mouth, gently biting the bud while his right hand massaged and tweaked her right. His left hand slowly caressed the dragon-turned human's body as he felt every curve, every muscle twitch under his touch, till he got to her core as he said, I gotta know what I am doing to please them. She gasped, feeling something invade her folds. Oh, between worlds, oh. Oh, this is getting hot. Though I hate it that Iris got to test him first. Who's going next? Giratina asked, only to get silence as a response, causing her to turn, seeing all of the girls stare with glazed looks of lust in their eyes. She rolled her eyes and roared, getting their attention, saying, if you all could get your mind out of the gutter we can find out who it is will be going next. Oh, come off it, Giratina, you want to go just as much as us, but to be fair it should be the one who knows him better, Mewtwo said, when all five said that's me. They glared as Raikou and Lugia gave their reasons were his big sisters. When he was alone we would always be there for him. If anyone should get to go next it's us. Mewtwo interjected, oh girls, please, I am his mother. I've carried him for 9 months and nursed him, giving us a bond that so few mother and children share. If anyone goes next it's me. I was the first friend he's made that day. I am going first. The large dragon said, only to get a huff. Please. He and I share a connection as adventurous souls. His music speaks to me. I am going. Darkrai said. The five glared at each other with such intensity that electricity sparked between them as they charged at each other, creating a large dust cloud as different attacks came from it in different directions. Oh, real world, oh, that feels so good, she said, pushing him back as she leaned back, feeling his growing member poke her. She grew a sly grin, saying while grinding against it, oh, it seems someone's excited, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't myself. Standing up, she turned herself around, positioning them in a 69 while she pulled his sweatpants down, revealing his 10 member, making her go wide-eyed. Oh, between worlds, oh my god. Giratina exclaimed, getting the other girls' attention when the girls saw what caused this. Their eyes popped out of their heads as they eyed his member. All the girls, their mouths started to water as Mewtwo turned to Raikou and Lugia as they nodded and attacked them from behind, standing on top of them, making it impossible to move. I think me and my daughters will be paying him a visit seeing as we won this fight. Now let's watch, shall we? She said, getting comfortable with the others doing the same. Oh, real world, oh, it's massive. I am kind of afraid to think what would happen if I were a normal human, she thought when she gasped, feeling Naruto's tongue invade her folds. Pushing the thought aside, she slowly took him into her mouth, taking in 7 of the 10 inches down her throat, suppressing her gag reflex as Naruto's tongue delved into her folds expertly while another finger rubbed her clit, making her stiffen, feeling electricity surge through her. Feeling themselves get closer, they speed up the process as Naruto gently bit down on her clit, making her explode in his waiting mouth while she felt him throb in her mouth, sending rope after rope inside her mouth, making her moan at the taste. Naruto, that was great, but somewhere else needs to be filled in a lot. I hope you know, but the rooms are soundproof from the inside out, so nobody will hear us in here, but we can hear them out there, she said, sauntering towards the bed as she slowly removed her panties, making him harder than earlier, showing he was actually a full 14, making her grin. He got up, walking towards her as he gripped her hips, looking her in the eye as she gripped his member, placing it at her core, nodding as he slowly pushed in till his entire rod was buried inside her, making her eyes snap open, giving a silent scream. Feeling him pry her tight slit open, she thought, God, he's right at my womb. Any normal woman would have died just from penetration, and if him being born from a legendary means anything, oh boy. She was panting just from him being in her as she nodded, saying, you can move now. He nodded and started off slow as he got a tight grip on her hips as the two moaned from the pleasure. As the two went faster, the more her mind began to numb from the pleasure as her eyes rolled back with her tongue lolling out of her mouth as his hips were now a blur. Oh God, Naruto! She exclaimed, hitting her 4th orgasm when he only hit his 2nd as her stomach began to swell and was loving the feeling of him inside her. You like that, Iris? He asked teasingly as he felt something take over him and brought his face closer to her neck. Yes. I love it more, she said, opening her eyes as her eyes were reptilian as the two of them bit each other on the shoulder as a dragon forming a circle appeared on both of their shoulders as the both of them felt each other's limit. Iris locked her legs around his waist when he was about to pull out, biting even harder into the mark as he did the same. Come inside me, Naruto heard her say in his head as he exploded inside her, completely filling her womb with his seed, giving her the appearance of a woman who's 2 months pregnant as he collapsed beside her in the bed with her tail has wrapped around his waist, bringing the two of them closer together. Oh, between worlds, oh wow, the two of them went for at least 3 hours without rest. Come on Mewtwo, let one of us go next please, Darkrai asked pleadingly, only to get a negative shake of the head from all 3 girls. Nope, you two lost the battle and we won, so you gotta wait after us, Lugia said, getting a groan from the two of them as they each left with Mewtwo thinking, just wait son, mommy's coming for you. Oh, next morning, oh what a dream. I thought Iris was a legendary and I am also a legendary, with the others wanting me as their mate, he thought out loud, getting a satisfied moan as he heard a soft voice come from behind him. That was no dream, that numb feeling between my legs is proof. And also cute additions, she said, making him raise an eyebrow as she pointed to the wolf-like ears and tail that had stainless steel, gold rings piercing his steel gray tail, making him wonder as he saw flame-like markings stretch across every part of his body. How the hell are there rings in my tail? On second thought, why the hell do I have ears and a tail? And what's with these markings? He asked, getting a shrug. On the rings, no clue, I wonder the same thing myself. For the ears and tail, it's obvious, as you are the son of a legendary and have been chosen to be Arceus king, as such you have to live forever, and like the rest of us you're an animal, well besides the Regi Quartet. Thirdly, the markings could be similar to how Lady Evangeline has the black stripes on her body. How they look on your body when you reach your full form is beyond me, she said, shrugging, getting up from the bed as she got the remaining essence from last night out of her. So how would I hide them? I mean, people would be chasing after me if I just walked around Kalos with ears and a tail. I mean, that would be like standing under a giant neon sign that shouted out new legendary, come catch me, he asked as she changed into a black sleeveless sweater and black jeans and boots. Thinking it over, she said, watching him remove the bandages, showing a large vertical slash across his chest that had healed until it was only a scar. Snapping out of it, she said, well, like me and the others, we hide our true forms and even change our human form by focusing on what we want to look like, so just imagine how you normally look without the additions. Nodding, he closed his eyes as he felt in painful strain as muscles and bones readjusted and aligned till his ears and tail vanished along with the markings, leaving only a large armband similar to the rings on his tail. How do you feel? She asked, knowing that the first couple of changes are going to be a pain in the ass. Feels like my body was ripped open and tossed through a grinder. How do you and the others deal with it? he said, popping his muscles and such as he placed on clothing similar to yesterday's except they were the opposite in color. Yeah, it's been eons since we've learned how to do it and it only takes a couple of transformations to adjust. Don't worry, you'll grow into it now, let's get going so we can see Professor Sycamore, she said, kissing him on the cheek as she swayed her hips out of the room, making him roll his eyes as he followed her out of the room. Oh lab, oh morning everyone. Iris said as she was greeted with a series of groans as she and Naruto grabbed their Pokeballs with Iris on the main belt around his waist. No greetings till coffee, Ash said as he stood in front of the coffee pot with the others as he raised an eyebrow at Iris. Ash isn't the morning starly type as you haven't noticed. Anyways Naruto, you pick what starter you're going to take with you on your beginning journey. She asked, getting a nod. Yeah, I am picking Chespin. She has a good defense and can be quite the power hitter if trained properly, he said, sitting at the table releasing his Pokemon as he greeted them all while the girls gave Naruto and Iris a sly look. Morning girls, ready for our first trip in Kalos? He asked, getting a nod from each of them as he walked up to Zoran, asking. How you feeling, Zoran? He asked, gently rubbing her head, getting an appreciative purr. I am doing better now, but I would feel great if I could kick the bastards who used me as a living puppet's ass. Why do I smell sex on you? She asked, getting a chuckle from Iris as she walked up, placing her hand on Zoran's head. That would be because Rayquaza herself mated him. I hope you all don't mind sharing him with me and the other girls that are sure to join, she said, getting a shocked look from her and the others thanks to the mental link formed by Chris as they all turned to Naruto as he sighed. I'll tell you all later when we get to somewhere private, but trust me when I say that the stuff she told me and you will see will effectively blow your minds. They agreed as Ash walked back with a cup of coffee, saying, morning guys, and I heard you, Iris, not a morning starly, my right eye. So Naruto, I gotta ask, how long have you been a trainer? He shrugged. Officially? When I get my Pokédex. Unofficially since I was 4 and meet Chris, Hits and Kagutsuchi and became a professor. Getting a surprised look from the boy, he asked, you're a professor? But aren't you a little young? Thinking it over, he said, I guess, but I guess it's all in the opinion of another person. I was tested by my godfather and godmother with their associates to see my knowledge on Pokemon and I passed all of their tests with ease. Not wanting this intellect to go to waste, they got me my license as a professor where I worked with each of them. Sycamore and I have been working on 2 projects together. Ash was interested and asked, what are they? Naruto said, taking a seat after a woman brought him and Iris a cup of coffee on the couch. Well, one thing is the possibility of a new type of Pokemon called the Fairy type, which would explain why the standard moves don't work as well on them as it normally would, and the other I am sure you already know from yesterday. So you've been studying Mega Evolutions? What possessed you to do that? He asked. Well, I guess the thought came to me when I studied about fossils, Naruto said, getting a puzzling look from not only Ash but the legendary dragon herself. Fossils? They said, getting a nod. That's right. I thought, what if fossils weren't the only type of Pokemon to exist? What if the Pokemon of today were a more docile form of what they once were? Thinking this, I found several odd stones outside of the standard fire, water, leaf, sun, dawn and dusk stone. These stones held the actual DNA of a Pokemon that when held let them temporarily acquire their former form, he said, gesturing to his Pokemon. So Ash, since you never had the chance to see a Mega Evolution, how about I show you? He asked, getting an excited nod from the both of them. Sure, I was looking forward to it, he said as Zoran walked forward, transforming when he hit the button on his black wristband. It looked like the standard Mega Garchomp, except its color scheme was similar to when it was earlier and she had scythe-like blades where her claws were, along with additional spikes on her stomach and legs. Wow, that's a Mega Evolution, Ash said, excited as Naruto nodded. Yup, there is still so little to understand about the evolution, their abilities and what changes it brings to a Pokemon's personality. That's why I want to study it no matter how long it takes, Naruto said, getting a pat on the shoulder as he rubbed Zoran's head, getting a satisfied purr. And with the rate you're going, it shouldn't take too long for you. So you guys, did you pick what starter you'd take with you? Sycamore asked, getting out for Pokeballs. I'll take Chespin. I could use more grass types in my group and she's a strong one and will, Naruto said, walking towards Chespin with a green version of the Twilight Ball in hand. Do you want to travel with me, Clover? He said, getting a questioning look from the chipmunk. Clover? What kind of name is that? If I am going to travel with you and your friends, I gotta have a badass name. Handsome, she said in a huff, getting a chuckle from him as he gently rubbed her head. Alright then, if not Clover, how about Integra? Or Sarah's? He suggested, getting her to think them over as she nodded. Yeah, Integra. I like the sound of that. Alright, hot stuff, you got yourself a deal. she said, slapping the Pokeballs button as she was drawn in, making him chuckle to his team. Seems we have another high-spirited friend, huh girls? He said telepathically as they all agreed mentally as he reviewed the info he got from her. Integra Chespin female LV. 5. So Ash, who are you going to choose? Got a preferred fighting style in mind or what? He asked as he watched him grab Froakies Pokeball as he tossed it in the air as Froakie jumped in the air, hitting the button, letting it be sent inside it. He saw Froakie's information before it returned to its ball as it read. Froakie male LV. 5. I just go by how a Pokemon feels to me, he said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. How they feel to you? He said questioningly as he and his Pokemon looked at Iris, who shrugged as a response.
Yeah, people always go after strong Pokemon who think they'll always win a battle with little training. I want to show that even a weak Pokemon can beat a tough opponent if given the proper respect and care, he said with conviction as Naruto saw all of Ash's Pokemon appear behind him, making him nod.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. To show that even a Pokemon with a type disadvantage can win against the stronger foe, he said, getting a nod while they turned to Iris that chose a peculiar bat-like Pokemon. His contacts showed Noivern male LV. 10. He saw that it had a strong will just like Froakie did and knew that with a legendary training him and Ash with his will, things were going to be interesting as time goes on. Excellent, now then wait. Sycamore said when he was interrupted by a feminine yell. They all turned to the door as a girl wearing a black dress shirt and red skirt came running in. "Aw, it's good to see you made it, and Fennekin is all ready for you, Serena." These three were just about to start their journey as well, he said as she looked at them. When her and Naruto's eyes met, like Iris, she had a large shadow behind her, except the figure was too hazy to identify. He shrugged as she said, "Sorry, Professor, I had my alarm clock set too late. If it weren't for Mom's fletchling waking me up, I wouldn't have made it. I ran all the way here." Laughing, he said, "Oh, it's all right, Serena. Anyways, as I was about to say, I need you all to do something for me. I need you all to complete the Pokédex. As you know, Pokémon are ever growing and changing. I need you to fill it, add information of new Pokémon that haven't been seen before." They nodded as he handed them each a Pokédex, with Serena's being blue, Ash's being red, and Iris being a forest green, while Naruto's was white with black lines. "Alright, so do you all know where you're going to start first in your journey?" he asked as Naruto and Ash said. "I am going to enter the Kalos League," the two said at the same time as they shared a glare at each other, making Iris sigh. "You two are such little kids, getting so worked up over something like this." She shook her head as she introduced herself to the new girl. "Hi, my name's Iris. The two idiots over there is Naruto and Ash. We just got here in Kalos and are about to go on our adventure." "You are?" she said with her hand extended, ignoring the indignant "hey." "I am Serena. It's nice to meet you. And do you think I can join you guys? The three of you look like you all have quite the bit of experience as a trainer, and I could learn quite a bit from you all," the new girl said, hopefully grabbing her hand as the two of them shared a mental conversation. "So you're one as well? Never met a legend native to another region," Iris said as the girl was surprised as she saw a large dragon. "So you're the first to fully interact with our King Rayquaza. How would you judge him?" she said. "He already had passed my test, if not passed a few girls just by watching him or from his mother and sister's reports. He passed mine from him just landing in Kalos and saving his Garchomp. He's got a strong sense of loyalty that alone let him pass my test," she responded as they watched Naruto and his Pokemon get to know their newest addition. "Okay, but how would you judge him?" she reiterated, putting emphasis on the judge, watching her blush with a bit of drool. She said in a haze, "I can still feel him. With him being born from a legendary, he's got stamina in spades and so big." That was more than enough to get Serena's mind to wander as they failed to notice Ash and Naruto walk to them. "Girls, hello. Iris, it's Team Rocket THEYRE after the Pokemon," Ash said, hoping to get them to come back to the waking world to receive nothing. The two boys looked at each other, shrugging as the two of them sat on the side talking, waiting for the two of them to snap out of it. Watching them, Ash said, "They're going to be a while, aren't they?" Naruto only nodded, saying, "Yeah, also I saw your battle during the Sinnoh League against that Paul guy. Gotta admit that last fight was something that had hits at the edge of her seat cheering your Infernape on." Surprised, he asked, "You saw that?" Smiling, Naruto said, "Yup, we always watch the league tournaments to learn new fighting styles and how to use our moves. In fact, that counter shield was an interesting one indeed, and how you superheated the field to remove the poison, that was defiantly amazing with your team fighting against the odds." The trainer was embarrassed. He said, "Thanks, though I wish my last battle turned out differently." He nodded, saying, "Yeah, I know you fought that Tobias guy. He pulled out Darkrai and Latios. Your Pokémon were spent just fighting Darkrai as is, but that was overkill. Oh well, I believe a loss isn't a loss until you give up everything between now and then as learning experience. The hat-wearing teen nodded, saying that's some good words to live by. Tell me why travel when you're a professor. He noticed Naruto's Pokémon grew solemn. He listened to Naruto say, growing up my parents hardly made any time for me or at all. Well, my mom would at least acknowledge me, give me a hug now and again, maybe a kiss on the cheek. But it was always about my sisters. Even on my birthday it was about my sisters. I wanted to have what they did. Friends, praise, warm affection. I never experienced that growing up from my parents. Well, my dad anyways. Leaning against Amaterasu's tail, he continued, unaware of other people listening from this world and the world beyond. As a small child, a part of me always knew my father never wanted me, and did all he could to exclude me from family events, my sister Elisa's fashion shows, Skyla's aerial performances, mom's contest appearances, parties the family would be invited to or throw, and I was never a part of any of it, always pawned off to my godfather and godmother Rowan and Juniper. They practically raised me as their bloodchild as I've helped them with their labs. It was then I realized I had some weird connection with Pokémon that went beyond that of a simple bond with them. It was 11 years ago today when I met Hits, Chris and Kagutsuchi, Naruto said as he looked to the ceiling. Oh flashback. Oh, I had just heard as my family wouldn't be here to celebrate my birthday again for the third year in a row. And even though I knew to never get my hopes up, as a child it still tore at my heart to know my family would rather party with people than be with their own son and brother. It hurt so much that when I heard from their video conversation while I stood in the hallway with Juniper as Rowan and I stood in the hallway, I ran right outside in the pounding rain, ignoring my surrogate family's calls to stop. I just wanted to get away from it all and ran as far as my legs would let me, not caring how far I ran or to where. I think I ran so far I believe I left the town. The rain was hitting so hard I felt my bones go numb from the biting cold. I was just in another forest when I saw a large light and I ran hoping to seek warmth, only to see a large pack of Infernape with a differently colored one standing over a injured black-furred Chimchar who had a cut over her eye who was barely conscious, a black-colored Ralts with her dress bleeding in tatters unconscious, and albino Riolu glaring defiantly at the imposing group as a group of Lucario and Gardevoir, Gallade soon joined. At first I wanted to ignore them, seeing as it had nothing to do with me, until I heard them throw insults at the group like freak, weakling, abomination. Those comments struck a chord with me and made me mad. I guess they reminded me of myself. I don't quite remember what happened partway through, except I threw mud balls at the pack leader's eyes, bringing everyone's attention to me, but I remember everything that was said. What is a human doing here? Leave, boy, and you won't get hurt. The alpha of the Infernapes said, watching me stand directly in front of them with my arms wide open. Why are you hurting them? What did they do to deserve this? I said as my eyes continued to burn. Like when I left, I felt the burning affect not only my eyes but my body, as every cell felt like an inferno. What does it matter to you, boy? These three outcasts have been a bother to us from the beginning, and I am just removing the trash, starting with my excuse of a daughter, he said, making Naruto glare harder. So you're going to hurt them because of something stupid? Wow, and here I thought humans were the idiotic species in the world, but I guess you and those group of Infernape, Lucario and Gardevoir make a pretty damn close second, I said, and I knew I really pissed them off with that comment, though I saw the three semi-conscious girls behind me stare wide-eyed. What did you say, brat? Get out of the way or you're next to face our wrath, I saw a blue Gallade say as he and a yellow Lucario walked to the front, standing next to the Infernape, making me square my shoulders. Even though I didn't show it that day, I was afraid. No. If you want to hurt them, you'll have to get through me. I don't care if they did something wrong, what you're doing isn't right, I said, making them growl as they charged. To me everything moved in slow motion as I felt my body go into autopilot as I ducked under the Infernape's right hook and kicked its legs from underneath him as I pushed it forcefully into the charging Lucario. I didn't notice the Gallade till the last second, as at the last second I felt a shattering combo be delivered to my stomach, breaking a few ribs and to my right arm as I attempted to block. The force alone was enough to send me flying into the tree next to downed pre-evolutions. I saw them about to attack the girls with a combined long-range attack, feeling my body draw on an energy I never felt before, but it seemed so soothing as the aches and broken bones went numb as I ran in the attack's path. I expected to get blown sky high, but to my surprise I blocked it with my hands out, creating a large green dome. Somehow I had used Protect, a Pokémon move. Like myself, the gathered group and even new viewers were surprised as I heard a few mutters about me using that technique. Of course I wasn't paying much attention as I stared the now on edge leaders down as I felt a wide variety of moves get downloaded into my head and the types there as I ran at the Infernape as my hands glowed ominous purple as blades formed. Psycho cut, I said, slashing at the first fighting type as it hit him in the solar plexus, making him keel over as I felt the psychic fighter run at me. I felt my hands change again into claws that glowed red with vicious red aura as I slammed my hands down into the ground, creating a shockwave night crash. A large red dome appeared growing outward with me at the center as the only thing the girls told me they could see was a hazy outline of some wolf and glowing purple, hazel eyes. The blast was so strong it sent the fighter flying past the mass Pokémon group and through a large tree head first, knocking him unconscious as my senses told me to duck as a large bone club swung overhead. Rolling out of the way, I felt my lungs burn as I exhaled, releasing a burst of fire from my mouth as I performed a cartwheel, coating myself in a wheel of fire, tackling the fighter, leaving his body sliding into his group. My body was now so hot that the rain that once felt so cold was now non-existent as the rain turned to steam against my skin, while my clothes were now scraps of smoldering cloth hanging off my body. Even though my body was running on fumes, I didn't want them to think I was about to fall, so I bluffed, "If you all don't want to end up like your leaders, I'd walk away now." They were hesitant until I willed what energy to gather into my good hand until I had a large orb, throwing it at nearby unoccupied tree, turning it into wood chips. "I guess I mumbled," I said. "Leave, now," he reiterated, making them pick up their leaders as they left until a small group of female Lucario, Gardevoir, and Infernape were left as they hugged him as they gave their thanks for protecting their daughters and asked me to be there for them. I could barely stand. My body wanted to fall apart, but I fought against that as I cautiously walked towards them. As I saw them get defensive, I gave my best available friendly face as possible as I said, "It's okay. I am not going to hurt you. I am going to get you medical attention, okay? Would it be easier if I gave you my name?" They nodded as I smiled. "My name is Naruto, Naruto Uzumaki. Will you let me get you medical attention? I promise you I will not do anything to harm you, nor will the people I am taking you to." Again they nodded as I noticed the Chimchar's flame was barely going as I went to pick her up and place her in my shirt, making sure her flame didn't diminish any further than it has. I picked up the others as I held them in my good arm, making my way back to the lab. What had originally taken me minutes had taken me hours as my body was worn and broken, with the only thing keeping me going was the will to get them help. End flashback. The tongue lashing I had gotten from Auntie Jupiter and Uncle Rowan was not a pleasant one as they mended to their wounds and mine as I had remained bedridden for months. Oh man, was my mom pissed, partially at me and partially her, knowing that if she had been more forceful at that time I wouldn't have gotten hurt. My sisters gave the silent treatment until I had to pull out all the stops, he said, gaining a wistful smile that he and his first 3 friends shared. "Yeah, your mom didn't let you out of her sight since she got back your sisters too. You had to give them each a X transceiver so they would calm down about where you were hit," said, laughing, only to get slapped in the back of the head from an innocently whistling Weavile. "Pull out the stops," Serena said, watching Naruto rub his face in his hands. "I had to give them the Lillipup eyes with a fake tear combo. Eventually I got them to concede after that," he said, earning a laugh from everyone present, even his Pokemon, making him groan while glaring at his team traitors. Anyways, after that the 3 of us had each other's back and I had made my first friends ever on that night as they never left my side. A month after that I was tested for my professor's test and passed, and that was when I got my goal to make a name for myself as more than it's Monato's son. I want to become someone to remember years from now. That's why I am going to win the Kalos League and earn enough money to create a region-wide tournament for everyone to participate, regardless if they're a professional or child, he said, getting a nod as everyone present listened to his story. "Is that the only reason why you've entered the league?" Ash asked, getting a negative. "No, I also wanted to join to see more Pokemon, to learn more about them and how they act compared to a Pokemon from a region not native to its own. Just yesterday I saw Pidgey, and other Pokemon that belong in their native regions. I want to know how they act in places uncommon for them," Naruto explained, getting a wide-eyed look from the new girl. "You're really devoted to Pokemon, aren't you, Naruto?" she said, getting a nod. "Of course, people are able to do and explore so many things and places because of Pokemon. I want to learn as much as I can as possible," he said with conviction. Having enough of the conversation, Sycamore turned their conversation back to what they had all come here for. "Anyways, everyone, as I was asking, are you all ready to begin your journey?" he asked, getting a nod from each of them as they packed all of their things. "Naruto. Ash, just a word of warning, the first gym is a couple towns back and it's a bug type, be careful. She's